Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something we've all felt, one of the most profoundly painful human experiences out there. And we're going to transform it into an amazing journey of self-discovery. We are going to map out the deep psychological journey of moving past a really painful departure to find a quiet, unshakable strength. Because, when someone you've shared your time, your deepest emotions, and the absolute softest parts of your heart with suddenly walks away, the pain isn't just about their absence. It's about a fundamental disruption of your entire inner world. But as we'll see today, the loudest growth doesn't come from a scream. It actually comes from the profound silence that follows. Okay, let's dive into this, because there is one agonizing question that keeps so many of us awake at 3 a.m. Was I that worthless? This is literally the exact moment where most people break down. But the source material reveals something completely fascinating. You aren't actually grieving the person who left. You are grieving the idealized image of them that you built inside your own mind. You're searching for the meaning of their actions, blaming yourself, and tying your fundamental self-worth to their exit. But to truly heal, we have to unpack exactly why our brains trick us into this incredibly painful cycle. And that brings us right to section 1, why we cling. Let's pull back the curtain and separate the actual human being from the mental loops our brains create to keep us attached. Now, what's really interesting about this is a psychological trap called emotional selection. Your brain is essentially applying a terrible Instagram filter to your past. When someone is near, we kind of take them for granted, right? But the second they are out of reach, their absence becomes unbearable and your mind actively starts editing your memories. It highlights their absolute best traits and completely deletes the moments they neglected you, disrespected you, or made you feel small. Your obsessive focus on those good memories is a completely normal, deceptive brain function designed to keep attachment alive. It is absolutely not a sign that you are meant to be together. Compounding this whole issue is the fact that the human brain naturally, intensely hates incomplete narratives. Psychologists actually call this the Zeigarnik effect. When someone leaves suddenly, your mind literally scrambles to finish the story. You replay every single conversation, dissect every minor argument, and search desperately for that one moment where you could have done something differently. You're looking for closure. But the hard truth, sometimes there is no clear answer. Some stories just end without a neat conclusion, and getting trapped in analyzing the past only keeps you emotionally bleeding for a resolution that simply does not exist. To break free from that, we've got to reevaluate what we are actually feeling. Let's move into section 2, emotional dependence versus love. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when someone leaves. They don't just take themselves. They shatter an entire routine you've built your life around. Seriously, consider what you are actually missing. You aren't necessarily missing a flawed human being. You're missing the habit. The morning texts, the late-night calls, the constant external validation, just the comforting sound of a specific voice. You became accustomed to this structure, and now your psychological system has collapsed. Recognizing that you are craving a habit, rather than the person who hurt you, is a massive, massive step toward clarity. This brings us to a fundamental misunderstanding we have about relationships. True love, it requires emotional freedom and acceptance. Ownership, on the other hand, requires clinging, control, and constant validation. When you desperately try to hold on to someone who wants to leave, you are operating out of a desire for ownership, not love. Begging someone to stay, demanding they recognize your worth, or clinging to them, it only lowers your own self-respect. True relational attraction is built on emotional independence, not frantic dependency. Deep people understand that love and ownership are not the same thing. Just let that sink in for a second. Tying someone down isn't true love. If someone truly wanted to stay, they would look for reasons to stay, not excuses to leave. Trying to force them to remain is literally a form of emotional slavery for both of you. People with deep inner stability recognize this illusion and accept that love cannot be held captive. To really accept this, we must completely reframe how we view the people who hurt us. Welcome to section 3, the harsh truth of human behavior. So, the crucial point is this. A departure is very, very rarely about your lack of worth. People leave because of their own internal instability, their changing desires, and shifting attraction. The nature of human attraction is deeply fluid, guys. It's dictated by circumstances, mental states, passing desires. The person who literally couldn't live without you yesterday might shift into a completely different mental state today. Furthermore, they might simply lack the emotional capacity to understand your depth. Their departure is a reflection of their own restless nature, not a judgment on your value. And because of this shifting nature, beware the ultimate psychological trap. waiting for an ex to return. They aren't some precious broken bowl that you need to carefully glue back together. Often, they act like a boomerang, returning simply because it's the path of least resistance. They come back for convenience or lost attention, not out of genuine love. A stable mind recognizes this difference immediately and refuses to ruin its present peace waiting around on someone else's shifting moods. So, if we aren't going to wait around or beg, what exactly do we do? That brings us to section 4, the power of silence. Let's move to and see how this builds a literal roadmap for your recovery. It follows 3 distinct steps. First, accept the reality without arguing. The end of some relationships happens not through debate, but through quiet acceptance. Second, withdraw gracefully in silence. Do not try to prove your goodness. And third, let time blur the memories. Time alone doesn't heal, though. Time paired with your absolute acceptance is what heals. The more your mind resists reality, the longer your pain lasts. But the more you accept it, the quieter your mind becomes. But to actually walk this path, you have to break the destructive cycle. Come on, you know exactly what this looks like. Checking your phone constantly for a message that isn't coming. Obsessively rereading old messages just to feel close to them. Having those wild imagined conversations in your head. And demanding explanations for why they changed. Every single time you demand an explanation or try to prove how deeply you loved them, you are just draining your own inner strength. You're handing the remote control of your emotions right back to the person who dropped it. The antidote to all this chaos? It's silence. Silence is absolutely the deepest form of self-respect. When you walk away without making noise, without seeking revenge, without needing to prove them wrong, you show absolute dignity. You prove your inner depth. It demonstrates that you can feel immense pain, but absolutely refuse to let it become your entire identity. And ironically, this graceful silence leaves a far more lasting impact on the person who left than any angry text message ever could. Mastering this silence naturally leads us to our final destination. Section 5, detachment and true freedom. We really need to completely redefine what detachment actually means. Detachment is not about harboring hatred. It doesn't mean you forcefully wipe someone from your memory. Detachment simply means ensuring that their memory, their behavior, or their absence no longer has the power to dictate your inner peace today. You can remember them, you can even acknowledge the love you had, but you have the quiet strength to be completely okay without them. It's the profound realization that your peace is entirely your own. Ask yourself, are you living like a puppet on a string? Emotional slavery is when your baseline happiness is entirely dictated by someone else pulling those strings. If they text, you're happy. If they go cold, your world shatters. That is a terrifying way to live. Inner freedom, however, is being deeply rooted. Your peace is balanced entirely within yourself. You appreciate people when they are present, but your core remains completely intact when they leave. You learn that loneliness is far, far less terrifying than staying with someone who no longer respects your peace. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, deeply provocative thought to carry with you. Will you let the one who took your peace continue to control your memories and dictate your future? People come into our lives, some as lifelong companions, others merely as seasons to teach us about attachment and our own inner strength. Let them go. Embrace the silence, reclaim your dignity, and build a peace so deep within yourself that absolutely no departure can ever shatter it again.